This area is called Concord Drive, and it passes straight through the old grounds of Borley Rectory. It's now under constant CCTV operation, but it is right across the street from the Churchyard, which is right behind that new modern home, and right underneath this road is where the remains of the nuns supposedly were found. This is a new road here, which has been made since 1945. It goes right through the grounds of the old Borley Rectory, which is, if you take a look down here, straight ahead of me is the old tithe barn, and directly to the right of it is the old churchyard of Borley. The Harry Price website is actually very helpful in finding some of these locations. So this would be the former rectory cottage, and the rectory would have been right over here, but it's since been demolished, and a private road, that one, cuts directly through it. But if we take a look at this building, it was built looking over the churchyard right there behind these bushes. And that churchyard, well, it was built for the direct purpose of the owners of this would look out and see the nun supposedly just walking through the Nuns Walk. It was a very regular scheduled thing that they would just observe this ghostly figure walking through a set path. On the grounds of the old Borley Rectory, where they built the road through, you have these two gargoyles keeping watch. With the Liston Churchyard and the two graves with the upright sides in the bottom right corner or the middle right corner, seen in a photo of the Reverend A.C. Henning and Harry Price at the nun's grave, 29 May 1945. This is a good angle to compare to harrypricewebsite.co.uk. The large, rather sharp-looking tombstone on the center left is near where, so between this tombstone and the tombstone to its left was buried apparently the nun that they found in Borley Rectory, buried in the basement there. This is the grave of Reverend A.C. Henning, who died here. He was the Reverend of Liston Church, and he is the one who buried the bones found at Borley Rectory along with Harry Price, and his World War II was still going on. And I do see that somebody has left this at his grave, a quail feather. I'm going to leave it there, but it's interesting that the grave is so overgrown and dirty and uncleaned, but that someone is still at least leaving something at it. This is the Liston Rectory, where Harry Price stayed during his excavations being carried out, I believe, in 1943. You can see the sign up here that it is quite old, but not as old as some other churches in the area. Richard Lambert of Liston Hall from 1864. At the same time it was being built, the Civil War was being fought in the United States. If you come out here to Borley, I would suggest that you stay respectful and don't poke your nose around too much. Just be kind to the locals, because on the church here they've got a sign that says, "The only people in this churchyard are at rest. There are no ghosts here." And people have basically made a nuisance of themselves, and you can see that there's a lock on the door there, and that there's a chain over the parking lot for the church, because people come in here doing ghost hunts and being loud and obnoxious and going, "Oh, I've got your bones," and things like that. But in reality, it's commonly believed that Price, the investigator from the Society for Psychical Research, came along and spent his entire career rebuking psychic phenomena, and he wanted to have a story all his own that he couldn't explain. So he heavily leaned into this. And a lot of the people who owned the grounds of the Borley Rectory later came out and said that, yeah, they kind of manipulated him into believing this story, but he should have figured out somewhere along the way that he was being led on a sort of wild goose chase, and they were kind of messing with him. Just outside of the Nuns Walk here, you have the grave of Reverend Harry Bull. And Harry Bull is significant because he's the one who made Borley Rectory, supposedly overlooking the Nuns Walk, just so that he could watch it. And when he died in 1927, he died in the Blue Room. And the Blue Room was cool because Harry Price, the investigator from the Society of Psychical Research, believed that Blue Rooms had this sort of psychic power. And 2 years later, when Price and his secretary, and I believe 2 of Bull's daughters, went to go do a seance in the Blue Room, the 2 daughters sort of led the seance into the conclusion of, oh, well, Reverend Bull was murdered by this third woman that we don't like. And the ghost that spoke was basically them, and Harry Price had picked this out immediately as them guiding the story to suit their own ends. But Harry Bull was the one who made the rectory, and they say that they cite his ghost around here as well, for those who believe the daughters. It looks like someone has come in and knocked a lot of the crosses over, particularly for the some of the priests. Got one knocked over there, and here, and there as well. And over here also you have Reverend Bull's daughters. In the distance there you can see a huge manor house that is in the shadow of the churchyard here. And this is quite a distance away from Borley Rectory, but it is interesting to tell the story of the Society of Psychical Research, which is the society that did the investigations on the phenomena, and later found Harry Price to be acting sort of outside of his means. And buried in this corner of the cemetery here are members of the Strutt family, some of the aristocratic classes in East Anglia, which is traditionally a bit of an aristocratic county. And in the corner of the cemetery you have the grave of Harry Sedgwick, who was a teacher at the University of Cambridge. And his story is, in 1882, there was a decision following the conversation of a journalist and a physicist to try to kind of quantify psychic phenomena. And they met at the International Congress of Spiritualists, which was made to rival the Congress of Religions, and agreed the same year to found the Society of Psychical Research, or the SPR. And these guys were sort of like real-life Ghostbusters. They went around trying to quantify and trying to confirm all the seances and hauntings around the country. And their first president here was Henry Sedgwick. And Sedgwick, I believe, was a very forward-thinking man. And he was the first one to sort of set out intentionally to prove or disprove psychic phenomena. And he did it by, I think he desperately wanted to believe, but he wasn't afraid to shut people down if they were lying to his face. And that's the reputation of the SPR. When they went to Harry Price and they said, we believe that you've sort of been leaning in on this investigation, and you've been kind of just believing what you want to believe to try to sell your own book. This is actually the area of the Nuns Walk. She would come and go right through here and walk through the field right out here. I believe the town in the distance there might actually be... No, that isn't Liston. That's just a nearby town. But by zooming out and panning around, you can see this Nuns Walk was both very scenic and also right across from the site of the former rectory and directly in the view of this old pavilion, which the former owners would just sit in the windows and watch to see her coming and going.